Welcome to Listen Up a Minute, and we're going to go ahead and get started. It's a little challenge, but we'll have, welcome to Listen Up a Minute. Listen Up a Minute is a program that we started where we allowed people to express their views on current issues and current subjects that are the talk of the day. And as you know, everybody knows, right now we're all talking about the election. It just so happens that all of us are Facebook friends, and we all have for the last few years been dealing with this thing that we're dealing with here in this country. And so what I'd like to do is go around and let Tom, he's been rather quiet there. I know he's doing his thing. I'm going to, everybody knows kind of who Tom Brown is, and not necessarily for something that he always, the word I get is, he's not that thrilled that everybody always knows him for funking for Jamaica. He like, look, I've done a whole lot more in my life than just funking for Jamaica.
That's a song, though.
But you know what I'm saying? So I kind of empathize with the brother, but it's a whole lot of brothers that never had a funking for nothing. So, you know, I guess at the same time, it's a bittersweet thing to be known for having a big hit record. And at the same time, wish people would understand that you're a lot deeper than that, that your background out there in Queens College, was it Queens College?
Yeah.
Queens College, music major, and studied with some top-notch classical trumpet teachers and all that. Brother G is also an excellent trumpet player and pianist, but he was a trumpet player, one of the top seniors when I was in high school. Tom, so I'm going to let Tom Brown opine first, and then we're going to get around to G, because we're going in seniority order, and then we'll let Sean opine, and I'll kind of come up and wrap it up at the end. But Tom, do me a favor, tell us, just kind of summarize where you've been as far as this whole last 4 years, and where you are hoping that we're going.
I suppose the pivotal moment for me was when that phrase "shut up and dribble" hit. And that just set me off, because it just reaffirmed that there's so much more. I won't even say more than being a musician. It's just about being human.
Yes.
And I just realized I got to use what I do and whoever's listening to say, okay, now let me put the horn down. I'm human. Can you relate? And that's just where I've been at. And you know the people we've been talking to on Facebook, and just using opportunities. Basically, I've just decided to use those opportunities to try and get people to register to vote. Not even so much trying to put my opinion about which way things should go, but just register, because I believe that humanity will kick in after that. You know, when you got opportunity and you see what's going on, you got to say, well, wait a minute. You know, why can't I have a human voice be heard and do something about this? And that's just where I've been at, Bill.
Where do you think it's going to go from here, though?
I think. I think there's going to be some interesting. I hope we're not headed for a coup. I see a lot of signs of replacement of some top military people at the Pentagon. It just has me worried. Has me very worried.
Yeah, me too.
Brother G, talk to us, brother.
Well, I'm pretty much on the same page with Tom there. You know, because you know when the gig is over, you know, and you packing up your equipment, and you know, and all that, you know, it's going to be people standing around, you know, and it helps to be able to communicate with them about something other than the last tune that you just played.
Yep.
You know, I've heard it said, in fact, that you know, some musicians, you know, find it difficult to express themselves in ways other than through their music. And that can be a problem, because if, you know, somebody asks you, hey, what happened? And you pick up your horn and start playing, you know, that's you know, that's not an effective way to communicate. But yeah, I have concerns about what's been going on now. Let me give y'all a quick astrology lesson. You know, the planet Pluto, and never mind that they don't call it a planet now. You know, that's
Right.
that's the point. But it's associated in astrology with everything that is of a very extreme nature. Okay. For example, Pluto is associated with things like hurricanes, tornadoes, you know, the Holocaust, slavery, you know, things of a very massive nature. Okay. So when the and just like people, you know, countries, nations have a birth chart, so to speak, that is cast for the date and time that it became an entity. So when the United States became an entity, the planet Pluto was at about, I think, about 24 degrees of Capricorn. And long story short, since Pluto is a very slow-moving planet, it's taken it every bit of 240, whatever it is, years that America has been around to get back to where it was originally. Okay, so in astrological terms, you know, we are about to experience. I mean, I think this is like within 12 months. I'll check in a minute here. You know, what is called a Pluto return. So that means that Pluto is going all the way through the zodiac, and it's right back to where it was originally, 240 some years ago. And if you think about the implications of that, you know, drastic changes, things going from one extreme to the other, and we're feeling a lot of it now because you know, I'm sure that all of us would agree that what we've been living through here for the last 4 years, more or less, has been a push towards an authoritarian style government.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Trump and his cronies are not even really. They're not trying to
disguise it. They're not even trying to hide it, are they?
And Tom was talking about an epiphany that he had when he heard this. What was it? Laura Ingraham tell Kobe Bryant that she was talking to LeBron James, told him to shut up and dribble. Well, I had a similar epiphany when I heard a woman at a town hall meeting, and who's this? Oh my God, who's the sloppy guy? Mike.
Michael Moore.
No. This is one of Trump's boys.
Okay.
Oh no, Steve. He's the other Steve. Steve Miller is the one that looks
Steve
like,
Miller, right?
Well, no, Steve Miller's
Stephen Miller.
Right, but it's another Stephen. I can't think. Gosh, but he's the sloppy Steve.
Okay.
But anyway, so he was doing a Q&A with some people, and one woman who was in the audience stood up and said, "Well," she says, "You know what? I never thought that I'd be talking about a dictator, but if we have to have one, I wanted to be Donald Trump." And I said, "Oh,
yeah,
that's
dangerous.
Crazy.
That's some crazy shit, you know."
That's crazy.
But let's face it, Hitler had a whole bunch of supporters too. And they were people who probably knew that he had his shortcomings, but their thing was, well, he's going to make life better for me. So, you know, so what if he's a son of a bitch? You know, and unfortunately, it appears that 71 million people in the United States feel that same way about Donald Trump. Yep. And gentlemen, that really bothers me. It really does. It bothers me a lot. But I think that this Pluto return that we're about to witness here in about 12 months or so, it is what is going to straighten the mess out. The right.
There's gonna be a reset of some sort, right?
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. You know, and it's going to and you know, I mean, some heads might roll in the process. You know, it remains to be seen. You know, because the people on the other side of the fence, you know, they are just as vehement about their vision, let's say, their vision of America as we are, you know. But I see this as a classic interestingly, it was one of my few conservative friends that ran this by me last night. She said, "Well, this seems like it's a battle between, the old age-old battle between good and evil." And I said, "Well, you're right about that."
Yeah. Only problem is the people who
they think they're on the good side.
They think they're the good.
Yeah.
And as I pointed out probably 100 times in here that John 8:44 in the Bible says that a liar is related to Satan. I mean, how do you tell lies and consider yourself to be on the side of the good? So I don't understand that.
Well, not just that, but and listen, after 22,000 lies, you would think that somebody would say, "Well, wait a minute, why is this person lying so much? What is it that he is trying to hide? Or what is his motive? What is it he's trying to accomplish that he finds it necessary to lie about?" Or same thing about all those little secret meetings with Vladimir Putin. I mean, if you think that they're behind closed doors talking without even an interpreter, a note taker,
if you
think they're talking about basketball, I got a bridge in Brooklyn I want to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Sean.
Well,
now let me hold on for a minute. Let me introduce you a little bit better than Sean Owens, the musician producer. Sean does some awesome tracks too, man. I want y'all to know that brother. I am so proud of him. Because in actuality, he might not give me credit for it, but I'm the one that basically taught him how to turn on a keyboard and plug in a MIDI cord.
And I give you all the credit for it.
And that brother to this day is amazing. I mean, amazing. He has a project out called Velvet Room. When you get a chance to check it out on iTunes, it's a Velvet Room, and it's him. He's doing this Quincy Jones thing. He's pulled in all these talented people because he and I don't sing. And he pulled in all these talented people, and he just produced tracks for them, man. And I was just telling him, I said, we got to find somebody to help with the promotion because the music is awesome. It's musical and lyrical and emotional and emotive. He does that. But before he starts opining, I want to tell you what the deal is. Well, most of the students that I taught when Sean was in school in the late 80s and early 90s, they were from single parent homes. And so even if they had a parent with transportation, the parent was either coming home from work or going home to do whatever. They didn't have people. They just jump in the car, come get them from school and everything else. So I ended up taking 25 kids home every day almost from school in 2 or 3 different trips, 5 at a time. And it just so happens that Sean lived on South Side where I live. So he normally was one of the last people that rode with me. And we hung out, got a little pizza stuff and everything else. But I always listened to talk radio. And at the time, during drive time, Rush Limbaugh was on here at drive time. So we're talking about 25 years ago. So I would always have Rush Limbaugh on. These cats were 16, 17, 18 years old, and they want to know, Mr. McGee, can we listen to music? No. We need to know. Look, Sean, what I tell you, we need to know what they're saying about us.
Yeah.
We need to know. I need to know what they're saying about us, bro. So you need to listen to this man and read between the lines. And he'll tell you right now, that's one of the reasons he mentally is where he is above his peers. Because I asked him the other day when he was talking all that yin yang, because he and I, we go at each other a lot on Facebook, but not from a conservative whatever stuff. Sean is one of them people that he'll call you out. If you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, he'll call you out no matter what. If you're not living up to what you say you're about. And that's what I respect about him. Even though sometimes we had to argue about it, I appreciate the fact that he's got the consciousness. And I asked him the other day, I said, Sean, where your brothers, man? Where are your peers? Because these brothers here, Tom and G and I, all of us are on another generation. But I'm worried about where his peers are. You know what I'm saying? So I'll let Sean opine now.
Well, I can tell you, for me, and Mr. Brown hit it right on the head. That wasn't my moment, though. My moment was when Donald Trump actually came out of his mouth and called a bunch of the NFL players that was kneeling sons of bitches.
Yeah.
That was a statement from somebody who's supposed to be a president.
Right.
So that right there, I mean, that was more than crazy. So that really got me. I'm not going to stay active because I've always been active. That really got under my skin enough that I started paying more attention. And as I started paying more attention, I started seeing more and more of the dog whistle messages. I mean, it's more like he was trying to incite a civil war.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. I mean, it's like, you know, from the most recent stuff where he told the Proud Boys, who I saw standing on a bridge entering Richmond, Virginia, the Proud Boys to stand by.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, when you have a leader, supposed to be a leader, using that type of language, and it just got under my skin. So that now I was always, even though I didn't like Hillary Clinton, I voted for her because I never trusted Donald Trump. From the moment he stood on that stage at one of his rallies and mocked that handicapped guy, I never liked the Donald Trump. So in any normal circumstances, that would have been the end of anybody's campaign. If you stood on stage and marked a handicap, and then right after that, you threatened people in the audience and told people if they beat them up, you pay their bail money. And under any normal circumstances, that would have been the end of anybody's campaign.
Absolutely.
But it went on and went on, and so I started paying more attention. Now, what scares you guys does not necessarily scare me. It does scare me. Let me retract that. It does scare me. It puts me in a place where I just can't believe we're here. But I question why we're here. Why is it that these people who obviously know, and I can't just assign it all to racism, but they obviously know that this man is a liar.
Yeah.
He's a cheater.
Yeah.
He's not going to do right by them. He's not going to do anything that he's promising them that he's going to do, but yet they still vote for him. And I question why. Now, the easy answer is, are they racist? I don't think so. Now, they have to be okay with racism in order to still vote for him. But calling them racist is not necessarily the answer. I look at things like this, and it may be trivial to us because we're staunch supporters of Biden. I know I am. But what about those people who every time they turn on the TV are seeing two gay men kissing each other? That's an agenda.
Right.
You know, or two women, sleeping with each other, stuff like that. People are sick of it. And with the Democrats, they're embracing this type of thing. So I think more people are voting against Democrats than they are for Trump. That's just the way I look at it. And I may be wrong, but I think that's why.
Voting against Democrats or voting against liberalism?
Well, liberalism, which the Democrats represent.
Unfortunately.
So, I mean, yeah, that's been the case. You have to admit that. That's been the case. It hasn't always been that way, but that's been the case.
Well, that's because it's a melting pot, though. The Democratic Party is a pot where you got all kind of different people in it. And liberals extreme liberals happen to be a part of that party, because of the arts and film and everything else, they get a little bit more media presence, And
go ahead. That's where the problem comes in. If it's a melting pot, and just like you said about Maine, everybody needing to have their share, it should be a balance, and it hasn't been. It really hasn't been, and there's a lot of people upset about that, and that's just one situation. But if you look at things that, and nobody, it's just like people ran on what's the young lady that ran for senator in Virginia, Spanberger or whatever.
Abigail Spanberger.
Abigail, my girl.
Right.
My girl.
Now, it's a lot of people in Senate districts and in Congress and in House districts that lost this go around simply because of Biden's tax plan. Now, understand something.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You said a lot of people. You know, a lot of
Well,
people.
we lost a lot of seats in the House.
How many is a lot? 5? You didn't lose that many seats.
That's a lot.
It's 430. There are 435 seats in Congress.
Right.
So you lost 5 or 8 seats.
Of 5 or 8 seats that we need.
In the House, you don't need them as bad because you still had a bigger majority in the House than you had some leeway in the House. The Senate is where you got some issues. But go ahead and talk about Abigail. You ain't gonna talk about my CIA agent. My girl.
Whatever. And I'm not saying anything bad about her. I'm saying that people actually believe that Biden's tax plan was going to harm them. And I had to put a picture up. I don't know if you saw this on Facebook, but I put a picture up of an apartment with the cheapest pocket board cabinets in it, the cheapest sink, I was like, look, if your kitchen looks like this, Biden's tax plan doesn't affect you.
That's right.
And that's just the sad thing. But people believed it because that was the messaging out there. Nobody fought back against that messaging, which is why I always come at you and I call the Democrats weak. They don't fight. They really don't fight. And when you look at even now, the messaging that Joe Biden is sending, how do you play fair? Hold on. Let me ask you this. How do you play fair with somebody that's getting in the ring with 12-ounce gloves on and you going in there playing pity pat? How do you play nice with that?
You fight him like you're Bruce Lee.
Hey,
kick him in the knee.
So if it's anything that worries me, it worries me that now that we have control, somewhat control, because I'm still waiting on Georgia, but now that we have control, and I'm hopeful for Georgia, what are they actually going to do to keep control?
Yeah,
if it was the Republicans, I don't know who mentioned it. If it was the Republicans, a whole lot of redistricting would start right after this election is won.
Yeah.
But the Democrats are not going to do
that. It is still going to be redistricting because they won some state houses that they should not have won or whatever.
That's what I mean when I.
And that census. Look, ain't nobody talking about how they jacked the census up. Now Trump and them jacked that census up something terrible. But look, let me go ahead and introduce our host, John Dowl, because John, I'm sure, has some questions. And John, I'm going to introduce to you real quick the guys over here too.
Okay.
The guy with this cool hat on is Billy G, and he's my mentor and one of the people who I went to high school with, trumpet player, piano player, and I wanted to be like him growing up because he was cool. And he had a little goatee when he was in high school. He had hair on his face. He had hair on his face when he was in high school, man. He had a little goatee. And he used to do like that and sit at the piano and play Horace Silver and play.
In high school?
Yeah, in high school, man. Oh man, that cat was amazing. Writing music and that. You know how you said you wanted to write music and all that? He could do that in high school. And Gee, I didn't tell you this story, man, or I may have told you, but I'm telling it to you again. Because I'm William McGee and he's William G. The people when you did Cincinnati Kid at halftime and we played it, the announcer said, and this arrangement was done by Washington High School's own William Gee. So I'm walking down the hall and kids are going like, hey, you did a real good job on that music out there. I said, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was in the 10th grade, man. There's no way I wrote no arrangement that the man was playing at halftime. But Brother G went on, I didn't tell both of y'all that he also studied at Berkeley. And he has a master's degree. He taught out in California for a long time. But he won't talk about it. I'm gonna get him to talk about it. I noticed some things I'd like to know. If he did a week with Marvin Gaye, he was Marvin Gaye's piano player.
Wow.
All right. So this is the kind of cat. And then the young lady that sang background, she was one of the background singers. She went to high school with us. And G wasn't until Adoria died. I thought he got Adoria the gig with Marvin Gaye, and then he revived me that Adoria was the one that got him the gig with Marvin.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a story, man. We might have to save the whole thing for another conversation.
Another time. Well, I'd like to hear that story. And then John, of course, we have Tom Brown up top, and Tom is a Queens College graduate, studied classical music. He's a hell of a jazz trumpet player, man, and just an all-round nice guy. He's a pilot. And right now he's out west because he's doing some work as a pilot. I don't know if Sean and G, you all knew that, but Tom works commercial. He works commercially as a freight pilot.
Nice.
You flying freight, right, Tom?
Where you go?
Yep. Yeah, he flies freight. So I'm gonna hit the ride with him one day when he's going somewhere in North Carolina. And I can hitch a ride with him, and we go hang out and talk trash while we look at I told him the other day he's flying on the West Coast near Seattle now, and I told him, I said, man, it has to be beautiful out there. And he sent me a picture of Mount Rainier, that him flying over Mount Rainier, G, and it was just so absolutely beautiful. Did you see it? Beautiful,
it's nice.
You know, and I'm going to say, you know what, man, that's a de-stressor right there.
Yeah.
And Tom has had a few challenges recently, and he's a God-fearing brother, so we know God is on his side. And then over here at the top with the blue hat on is my former student, Sean Owens, and Sean was worked with Brian McKnight and Brian McKnight's son, and also Brian's brother, Brian's brother-in-law, Victor. What's Vic's last name again?
Brooks.
Victor Brooks, right. Okay. Yeah, he's worked with Victor Brooks, and he's an excellent musician, and he's a good dude. And I used to lie to his mother. Well, I didn't lie to her. But I might have stressed the truth a little bit. But I snitched on him. I mean, his mother and I had one of the relationships where if I had to take him home and he was doing something silly when he was 17, 16 years old, I went to the house. Ms. Owens, let me talk to you for a minute about this boy right here. And we had that kind of background. His mother and I are like that. She lives right around the corner from me now. And Ms. Owens and I are good. But I helped raise that young man right there. And she'll tell you that I was the father figure that he didn't have at the time, and got him from 10th grade all the way out of high school, and inspired him to go to college. And by putting that tuba in his hand, I made him a whole lot more valuable for college band directors than clarinet player. Right. So he went to Virginia Union and Norfolk State University, and was there. Yeah, that's right. So he was in that tuba section down there at John. Y'all might have been down there not too far apart from each other.
Yeah.
Because Sean finished high school in the early 90s, and I think you were down there in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I was there at the 83 through 88.
Yeah, so you're about 10 years ahead of him. Yeah. But what we're moving on, John, we're discussing right now what we said we would discuss for this program. Which is we're discussing the political ramifications of the election. And I wanted to bring these brothers in because all of us have been collaborating on Facebook, and we have all done our part. And let me say that to Tom, to G, and to Sean. I thank you all, not just from my personal friendship, but I thank you for having a voice in this last 4 years, because one of the things you all said what you said, but one of the things I think is our biggest problem is silence. It's too many of our friends, family, and countrymen who have allowed this foolishness to go on and not say a word. And I tell everybody, they'll say, well, why are you doing all this stuff? I said, because every lie deserves a pushback. If somebody gonna lie to you, somebody needs to challenge that lie. Because if you don't, there's gonna be somebody out there that believes that lie, period. You know what I'm saying? Or they'll come, we'll hear them on Facebook. Well, did you hear that he at least gave us a tax cut? You ain't getting no tax cut. If you make that kind of money, you think Trump gave you a tax cut, I need to borrow some money. Because I don't know nobody that got a tax cut fooling with that crazy man, because I don't know nobody that rides in limousine. And that, like I told Tom, I was telling Sean and G and John, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, my perspective is much different after looking at Donald Trump's upcoming, the way he was raised. I said, because I don't know one single person that rides in a limo to work every day. I don't. I seriously don't know anybody who rides in a limo. And that man's ridden in a limo since he was in his early 20s or whenever. I don't even know if he knows how to drive. And that's why I wanted to tell other people today is I wanted to tell Biden to challenge Trump to a driving contest. Because I've seen Biden driving that vet. You know, he has an old vet that he drives.
Okay.
He got an old vet that he drives, and he has a country road right there in his his estate in Delaware, and there's a video of him drive a convertible vet too. And he's driving this vet down the highway. He's chilling and everything. So I want to say, oh, please, instead of challenging him to a race or something else, ask him to show you how well he can drive. Mm-hmm. That man hadn't driven a car probably in 50 years, if he's ever driven one. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So my point is, I don't know nobody that rich. I don't know. So I don't understand how they think. You know, when you can get on the phone and call somebody to come get you and take you to anywhere you need to go. You know, Tom, back in the day when I worked with Evelyn, and she was on RCA, the RCA provided a car service for her. Wasn't always a limo, a lot of times it was a Lincoln Town car. But the point is, she didn't drive and her parents didn't drive, so anytime she needed to go somewhere. Well, one of the hardest stories I understand about the industry is when she was with RCA and they decided not to renew her contract. I think the story goes something like this, and don't hold it against me, Evelyn, if I get it a little wrong, but I think it came down to like this, is they weren't informed that she was non-renewed by the label. And you call up the car service and tell them you need a car to take you from place A to B. And the car service says, oh, I'm sorry. We can't send a car anymore. You don't know what you're talking about, Willis. You're no longer with the record label.
Ooh.
Say what? What'd you say? We can't send a car anymore because you're no longer with the record label. Now that's kind of deep. You know what I'm saying? For you to find out that all of a sudden you don't have transportation to get from here to there because you don't drive. And you've been dependent on these people to take you from, or to get you there and back from wherever you were. And now all of a sudden you don't have any way to get anywhere. So I just say that to say is, and hopefully I got the facts right. And if I didn't, forgive me, blame it on the head and not the heart. But just think about that whole scenario that people who are wealthy and who can afford a limo and everything else. So I digress. I'll get out of that. John, were there any questions that you wanted to ask these brothers? Because we almost at our hour already.
Yeah, well, listen, I want to thank you all for holding it down. My computer died. I could not log on the phone, just all kinds of technical difficulties. So thank you all for making this show a success and keeping it going without me. I really appreciate that. And it's just, nice to make you all's acquaintance like this. I mean, such diversity and knowledge and music royalty. I mean, that's something I really appreciate. Mr. Brown, you may not remember, but I was telling Bill that when I was at Norfolk State, you came there and performed and WNSB, the radio station, and we were the only all jazz station at the time, and we promoted the show. And you did the show. It was nice. You talked with us, students, whole nine. The next day, you called the radio station wanting to know, had we heard from the manager? No, Mr. Brown, we haven't. We're looking for him too.
Mm.
And that was, I told Bill that, and Bill said, John, listen. He said, anybody in the music business is going to run into a shyster. And I fell out laughing. I mean, he said it like, it's just like your part of your morning routine.
Yep.
Pray, get up, pray, brush your teeth, have a cup of coffee, check with your spouse and kids. And, oh yeah, I'm gonna run into a shyster today. He said, anybody in the music industry has run into a shyster, and you will run into it. And I wanted to know, I mean, it was funny, but it was sad because he just, oh, it's just routine. You're gonna run into a shyster in this business multiple times. So I wanted to know, when you all first heard Trump as musicians, did that alarm go off? Did you all see shyster? Right away?
Right away.
That alarm went off for me when he was on that show, The Apprentice.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I always knew he was a shyster. It wasn't even a question to me. He was a clown. He was an act. It was like even his campaign. It was like looking at a reality show. It wasn't real. It never, and it's still not today. Although it affects us in reality, what we're seeing is unreal.
Well, 70 million people disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown. Go ahead.
And for me, I'm originally from New York City, and I came up under Trump's father schooling him how to, run these apartment complexes that they ran and defraud people there.
Oh, so you knew the deal before.
Yeah, we knew who
You're
he
from
was.
Queens. You're from Queens, where they own their property.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So what I was telling John, G, and Sean and Tom, is that yes, in the music industry, if you've been in the music industry at all, music business, you have met a person that no matter what they said, no matter what you knew from the bottom line, they were crook. They were crook. A bottom line of crook. I mean, it's no problem. G and I can name a few from Atlanta that we know that I'm not gonna call any names right now because they might have some relatives up this way. But and Tom, you look, especially over there with the situation. Let me say this right here. G and Tom Brown, both of y'all have experiences that I had. Tom, we did a gig at City College. My band, a lot of people that you know promoted at Hollywood, and my man that worked with Run DMC, Russell, and all of them promoted this gig at City College. We're talking about late 70s, right before Funkin' for Jamaica came out. What in
80,
yeah, late 70s. So Shame came out in 77, 78. And so we were out there working, and after we did the gig, we went to the hotel, and our truck was stolen with all our equipment in it. And G, I used to play with a group after I left Helifernalia in Atlanta. I played with a group called Beautiful, and Benny Davis. I don't know if you remember Benny Davis. Benny was head of parks and big in parks and recreation. He lived over at University Plaza. And one day we looked up and we had a trailer with all equipment gone. All equipment gone. Sean and I, we had done all this stuff to get all these equipment and instruments. And my high school had the baddest equipment in the country. I would have put, man, we had S50 samplers. We had all kind of stuff because we did this talent show that Sean was instrumental in. So we had Simmons drums. We had Tom. We had the bomb.
Everything.
Right? We had the bomb. Somebody kicked the door in, robbed us. Went in the band room and took our stuff. So John, I just say that to say to you is, as musicians, we are so used to crookedness, right? That it doesn't surprise us what this man is doing. The music industry is such a crooked industry because the people that are attracted to it are greedy, selfish, use drugs, women, and anything else to try to manipulate, and so we're used to that. I mean, man, our record, my group's record was top 20 Billboard in 78, 79. Tom, my group record was Love Injection. And if you remember Love Injection at the time in New York, I mean,
yeah, man.
The story I tell is, we were riding down a Broadway in the midday, and all the people were out eating, and all the secretaries come out and eat, and at midday, man, Broadway was like packed, right? And so we're listening to WBLS, and we hear our record. And we're on our way to play at Felt Forum in the Madison Square Garden. So we like, oh man, we're big time now, Jack. And then we noticed that the record outside the car was out of sync with WBLS. We go like, wait a minute, that's in a different place in the record. We switch over to Kiss, and they're playing our record at the same time.
Oh.
Man, you can't tell me that you're not in Fat City. You going to play at Madison Square Garden, and BLS and Kiss are playing your record at the same time.
Same time. Great.
Never received a dime in royalties.
Oh man.
Oh no.
Never received a dime.
Yep.
Wow.
The crook stole all the royalties.
Damn.
Top 20 hit, and we never received a dime.
Wow.
Mm.
So John, when you talk about a crook and a shyster, man, Trump smelled. If y'all saw that post I had, I said, look, I can smell a shyster from a mile away, and I can smell the stink of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue all the way down here in Richmond, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? Because that man stink of shyster and crook and untrustworthy. You can't lie to me 5 times and expect me to believe you on the 10th line. But we're not talking about 20,000. We're not talking about 1,000 lies, 2,000 lies, up to 20,000. I'm talking about, I'm not going to let either one of y'all lie to me 5 times. Right. And then get to lie number 10 and you go like, well, you believe me, don't you? No. And I wanted to use another word in front of that, but I don't use some kind of word. But the bottom line is, no, I don't believe you on lie number 10. So we're not getting to lie number 100 or lie number 1,000 or lie number 110,000. We're not even getting anywhere near close to that. So I don't understand what these people are thinking. I'm a little different from some of y'all. I believe there's some spiritual stuff going on in here, man. I believe there's something that, I just believe there's some things going on where if you want to believe a lie, John 8:44 says that your native tongue is a lie because your father is the devil.
Yep.
You are the son of the devil. And when you tell a lie, you are speaking in your native tongue. And that to me described him so well that lying for him comes so easy because that's what he does. So I used the scorpion and the frog thing the other day. Everybody know the scorpion and the frog thing. And these crazy people just happen to be frogs. You know what I'm saying? And they going down. And the bottom line is he does what he does because that's what he does. So anybody else got some other things to say? I don't.
What about? Let me ask you this, Ben. What does that say about the people, about the religious people in this country? Because a lot of them support Trump. So what does that say about them?
The money comes first. They put money ahead of their religion because if you remember, Rick Warren had a problem with President Obama and he had him at his church and challenging him on some things. I heard a few other ministers throughout the years make some little snide comments about President Obama without calling his name. But Trump wins and all of a sudden he's a darling of the evangelicals. I don't even know what an evangelical is, but he can do no wrong. But
Well,
yet, the thing
I can
that
tell
he
you-
said, the thing that he stands for, and the thing that he does is antithetical to anybody, and not only Christianity, but Islam, Judaism, and any other, and all the other not so major religions. It's antithetical to all of them. But because he puts out these not even dog whistles, they're bullhorns. You know, he says things about black folk, and so that right there is going to ingratiate him to a lot of people. And
well, see, that's why I stopped listening to anybody with a religious view when it came to Trump or Biden or anybody else. Right. And I'm gonna tell you why I stopped listening to him. Because when President Obama was in office, and that whole when they go low, we go high mess got on my nerves. But I remember Pat Robertson watching his program, and they tore Michelle Obama down because she had dared wear the dress with her arms shown.
With sleeves.
Right. Yeah, right. A sleeveless dress. They tore her down. In the same breath, when Trump got in office, the third lady, and I call her the third lady, you know why, but the third lady has pictures all over the internet with her laying in bed with other women and everybody else, and they call that art.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that's the problem. We have to get in, and I say this to say, we have to find out as I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm a registered independent. But we have to find out why these people are so and again, I go back to, I think they vote against Democrats, not against Trump. I mean, not for Trump. I think they're voting against Democrats. And as anybody in politics, I don't care what party you're with, you need to understand why these people are voting the way they're voting and fix it. If you don't, we're gonna be in these same situations. Every election, we're gonna be in this situation.
You talked about the morality. What about the Republicans that are gay? Because there's a prominent one here in the Richmond area. But whenever they talk about anti-gay issues, he tries to gloss it over because
that's true.
He doesn't want to identify with Democrats, but he doesn't want to say anything about his fellow Republicans that don't believe in what he believes in. And
well, that's because he doesn't believe. He doesn't believe in anything. Yeah, he believes in it. He believes in Trump.
Yeah. And Sean, you talked earlier about the messaging. You were so spot on.
What you say, Tom?
Democrats need to stop being bedwetters. They need to learn how to fight. And we have to take a page out of the Republicans' book on this messaging. Even when their messaging is not accurate, which is a lot of the time they get it across, it's effective and people believe it. Well, even when you point out the fact that it's an outright lie or just not factual at all, they believe it. They even came up with alternative facts. Yeah. Who ever heard of what's an alternative fact?
A lie.
Listen, it may not be a surprise to you to learn that that technique is something that was borrowed from Adolf Hitler and what's his name?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Right. Yes. There's a Wikipedia article on it. I would suggest that you take a look at it when you get a chance. It's called The Big Lie.
Right.
The Big Lie. And the premise is this. You tell a lie that is so humongous, so off the charts, that people are going to say, well, certainly Billy G can't be telling a lie about the sun rising in the east, you know? So maybe it's something, maybe he's actually telling the truth, because certainly he wouldn't lie about something that everybody knows facts on. And you tell that lie again and again and again.
Is that the lie about the taxes? Because I can't understand how anybody at this point in time could fix their face to believe that man's going to release his taxes ever.
Right.
I mean, how do you, I mean, 5 years ago, I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you that $5 back. No, Brad, I'm going to send you that $5. No, you gave me one of your CDs when you were here in Richmond, and I'm going to send you that $10 for that CD. And this was 5 years ago. And every time I talk to you, I say, oh, yo, man, I'm going to get you that $10. Don't forget. I got you. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Bill, to that very point, Bill, I have decided that these people really do not care that he's telling a lie, because they are banking on, they're hanging their hat on what I call their pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Right.
And I would submit to you, gentlemen, that for a whole lot of those people, it is the restoration of their precious white privilege, which includes, preferential treatment as far as jobs, money, all kinds of opportunities.
And segregation to a certain point.
Well, surely that
they want to be able to go somewhere, and actually, if they don't want black folk in there, they believe that they should be able to go somewhere, and black folk don't have the right to come in there. I mean, they deep down in their heart.
Well, but to put it another way, I said white supremacy. I mean, I said
white privilege.
White privilege, but really it amounts to a white nationalistic agenda.
Absolutely.
That encompasses culture, music. That they would like. Listen, I don't know if Tom, you probably had some experiences with this, considering your schooling. I ran into a guy in Boston, man, at a train stop, and I just mentioned to him in passing that I was studying at the Boston Conservatory, which is where I did my master's degree. And this white dude, he looked like he might have been, I don't know, late 30s or something like that. But he assumed that because I was going to a school that had a reputation of chamber music, that I was into, and really tell you the truth, we had a lot of exposure to that in high school. Bill knows all about that. We had a band director that had us playing Tchaikovsky and Mozart and all those people,
right.
And it was okay. But I'd rather listen to Miles Davis. I'd rather listen to James Brown. But anyway, so what this white boy was trying to convince, he said something about real music. And I knew what he was saying.
What?
And it was all I could do to keep from knocking his goddamn teeth out.
Real music.
Because to me, B.B. King is real music. James Brown, Aretha Franklin, T-Bone Walker. I'll take you all the way back. Yeah, we go all the way back down. Robert Johnson, all these people. That's real music too. But there is this presumption of superiority in not only music, and all things white.
Well, and just to tell you that I don't, you probably see, because all of us haven't been on Facebook. John, the four of us are prolific Facebook people, and I don't. We might compete against each other to see who can. I know G come up with some good ones. Tom and I are a little bit more. I'm a little bit more data driven. Tom's a little bit more social driven, and Sean is just contrarian. He's a contrarian, yes, an antagonist. But G, look, when Trump go low, G go lower. That's
there you go.
That's what I'm saying is.
Go low, I get in a submarine.
That's right. And when I see stuff that's so bad I wouldn't put out there, I send it to him. I say, hey G, you might like this. Knowing that he goes like, oh yeah, baby. This is right up my line.
Right up my alley.
That's right. So the bottom line is though, man, I was looking at this data and I was telling you, and I have to still share. I can't share it right now. It'll be just too disruptive. But if you all remember, the data I put out there before was that 99 million people didn't vote last time. Just didn't vote at all.
Right.
Well, it actually ended up being a little less than that because you have to subtract the people who out of the data I'm using is called voting VEP, voting eligible population. There are two demographics: voting age population and voting eligible population. The voting eligible population are the people who, based on their citizenship and their criminal status, are available, can vote. But the voting age population is higher, because anybody who has a felony record in most states and other things, or anybody who's an immigrant who doesn't have whatever and can't vote is non-citizen. So you got more people in the country of voting age who are age appropriate but not eligible. So the voting eligible public are those people who could register or are registered and just don't vote. Here's the data. The last time it was 91 million. Let me put it right here. I'll tell you. Last time it was 91,739,344. You know how many people didn't vote this time? And this is the one that bothers me. And we all got to dig deep in this. We don't have the time today to dig deeper. 91,459,283 people did not vote.
Whoa.
91 million people did not vote. Now, my question is, was it ever clearer? Was the red pill and the blue pill ever clearer? I mean, it's not like you go like, well, I don't know which one I really like the best. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you this, and all of you guys most of you guys are much older than me. Where everybody's older than me. So let me just ask this, because I've heard this a lot, and right. I don't say I agree with it, I understand it. A lot of people feel like they're on a hamster wheel when it comes to this whole election thing, and neither side is going to do anything to benefit me. That's the thing I hear a lot. Okay. Neither side is going to do anything to benefit me, so why should I vote? Why should I even waste my time? Both of them are going to do what they want to do, stuff. And a lot of people feel that way. So how do you change that feeling? I feel like if you change that feeling in people, you'll get more people to participate. But how do you change that feeling in people?
Tom, you take that one.
I feel we're in a time when a lot of people look to change in terms of revolution rather than evolution. If I'm on a boat and that boat is going down, I may look for something to plug that leak. That may not be the ideal stopgate, but it's going to give me some time.
Right.
Got you.
I'm not saying that Biden doesn't have a history. I'm not saying that Biden is the perfect candidate, but I'm realistic in the sense I'm not looking for a be-all, fix-all right now. I'm looking for something to save my butt for the next 3 hours before that boat sinks.
Got you.
And in the process of doing that, while I'm above water for 3 hours, I'm going to say, okay, what can I do to extend those 3 hours now for a month?
Let me say this, Sean, and I agree with Tom. The problem I have with them and that premise is that they're the porch sitters for no reason. In other words, okay, if you believe that, then what are you doing to make the world better? Mm-hmm. In other words, I'm good with that. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, if you want to start a third party and get out here and advocate for some change, you know what I'm saying? Tell those people that are talking to you, say, but what are you doing? Because to sit back and allow two people to tear something up and you not even intervene, say, well, I don't have a dime in that dollar. Yeah, well, so once it's torn up, what you got left? You see what I'm saying? In other words, okay, so they gonna mess this doggone country up for everybody one way or the other, and you still got to live in the country. So my question is, if you don't agree with either party, then what are you doing to change society? That's my question. And that's where that liberal thing is, where everybody talking about AOL and the liberal side of the Democratic Party and all the stuff they talking about versus the more conservative side. I don't know if y'all saw my recent diatribe that I put out there, but I'm gonna throw this out there, and then I know we got to sign off. I advocated two things. The two things I advocate, and I'd like each one of y'all to speak on one thing that you advocate for change. The two things I advocated I advocated for investing in infrastructure and building stuff all over the country, bridges, highways, airports, and in every city build some state-of-the-art schools, because most cities have older, dilapidated schools because the counties came later. So the counties got the newer schools and the cities still got the older schools. So I advocate for tearing those schools down and build some banging up state-of-the-art schools in the urban areas. And then number two, I advocate for free vocational school all across the country. I want, and Tom read this because I mentioned to him about him teaching kids how to get a license to fly drones, because you got to be a licensed pilot to fly a commercial drone. Yes. And as he gets a little younger and younger, which is he's getting younger every day now, he's going to have to find something other than flying the friendly skies to do. And I'm going like, well, Tom, why don't you teach some of these kids how to get an FAA license to fly a drone? Because God knows, everybody knows, the drones are going to be the way of the future, along with electric cars. So I want the vocational schools to teach kids how to repair electric motors, how to repair and replace parts on electric cars. I don't want nobody to know how to work on a gas engine ever again, because you know what I'm saying is, because I want to see some things that change. Anybody who's been to Europe or out of the country knows maglev trains. And in 87, I went to Japan and rode the bullet train, and that Jimmy Jam was running almost 200 miles an hour. And I had a cup of coffee sitting up on the ledge, and it was steadied in my hand right here. That coffee at 200 miles an hour was sitting there not rocking. And I'm saying, and that's 1987. I'm saying to myself, why, with all this American exceptionalism and all this make America great again mess, don't we have a east to west coast bullet train? Mm-hmm. You can't tell me why, if we're supposed to be progressive, Sean, we're supposed to be progressive. Why progressives and the conservatives supposed to be about jobs? Do you know how many jobs it would create to develop a West Coast to East Coast bullet train? Jobs all across the country, all across the country. So those are my two advocations for a progressive agenda. I want to see infrastructure built, and I want to see vocational education made available to everybody. Now, y'all tell me what you think we need to do. Everybody don't speak at one time.
I was pausing to let them go first, but I'll take the reign. The one thing in my main agenda has always been criminal justice reform, more specifically police reform. Okay. I'm sick of qualified immunity.
Yeah.
Qualified immunity needs to be taken away, period. If someone has a job, and they always say, well, they have the most difficult job, well, that's what you signed up for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, if that's the gig you want, then this is what needs to happen. And qualified immunity has gotten cops off of so many different criminal acts that they perform that is ridiculous. And I have not seen one politician address it. Not a Democrat, not a Republican, because they're scared of these police unions. Right. That's what we need to do. That's the one thing. And the other one has always been education. I agree with you 100%. I've been to schools in Atlantic City when I was at Norfolk State. We visited a school in Atlantic City, the jazz band did. And this school had a terrarium, had a greenhouse, had a automotive lab where they actually worked on cars inside. And in Richmond, if you wanted to work on a car, you had to be at the technical center or something like. It was crazy to see. This school looked like Norfolk's campus.
Right.
It looked like Norfolk State campus, and this is a high school.
Right.
We don't see that, and of course, you know, the demographics of that school were majority white.
Right.
So we don't have that. And I mean, I'm hearing, and I haven't been to Richmond City schools in a long time, but I'm hearing that even the bathrooms are the same at John F. Kennedy High School, where the bathrooms are run down, and I've been gone since '90. And they were run down then.
Look, run down is subjective from the standpoint that they weren't built well in the first place. They put American standard, the same toilets, commodes, and urinals in the doggone things that have been there for years with the same defective valves and pull down handles and all the other stuff. When I was in Japan, they had the no touch flush in '87, where you go in the bathroom, you use it, you get up, you walk away, the thing flush on its own. All right, we still don't have that in this United States on a regular basis because number one, it's not cost efficient, especially if I can make these valves right here for $3 and putting an electronic flush, electric eye flush would cost me $10. Well, then let me just get the cheapest. America, as you know, bids, accepts the contract with the lowest bid. And whoever gives the lowest bid gets the contract, and which means that you're going to put the cheapest stuff in the project, not the best stuff. So I don't criticize high school bathrooms and everything. I criticize the whole contracting structure of how they do it. But Sean, Huguenot High School is even though they got problems, when you look at a Huguenot High School here in Richmond, you say to yourself, I want my kid to go to school like that. So Tom, give us some closing thoughts as far as what you would advocate.
I think truth is the word I could say. As long as the 1619 project scares people.
Yes.
And you have people say, wow, we can't, that's anti-American to
teach that.
Yeah, if you can't start out by teaching our kids the value of our heritage and the truth of the history, how are you ever going to change anything? You know, if young kids are coming up and saying, well, what did we ever contribute?
Yeah.
I see what y'all, what did I ever contribute?
Right.
So it's got to start there. I mean, it's got to just the willingness to say, here's what it is.
Tell the truth, to tell it like it is.
Yeah, we screwed up as a nation. We did wrong. We got to deal with that. We got to humble ourselves for that. And we got to move forward from that.
But that's going to cost you. Because now the original people, the first people who lived here, basically are the owners of this joint. And so, you know, and Tom, to piggyback on what you're saying, is I always said to people right now, I said, I like the idea of reparations and whatever. I said, but I don't want a dime until they get the natives, the people who own this land straight first. You see what I'm saying? Don't try to give me money when you stole this man's house. You captured me and brought me to this man's house and made me work. Made me work for free. But guess what? You stole his house, kicked him out, sent him halfway across the country, tried to kill him off, right? And then I'm sitting here going like, well, mister, you owe me some money for all this work I did. And they sitting over there going like, you know, that's my house you working on. So I'd like to see them do right. What you said, exactly right. 1619 is great. I'm an advocate. You know, I've been heavy duty on 1619. But the point is 1607, and even before that, when they went down to Florida and when they went down to Louisiana and all those other places and just kicked those people, the Seminoles and all that, the Seminoles ought to own every doggone thing in Florida. You know what I'm saying? They talking about having a reservation. This whole doggone country is a reservation. It belongs to them. Maybe they ought to get these other folks some land and say, okay, y'all can do a little something over here and have a casino or two. But the rest of this belongs to us. So I don't know. I'm going on. Billy G, tell us your closing statement.
Well, you know, I wanted to sort of piggyback off of something that Tom was saying there. You made me think, Tom, about a revelation that I had along the way. And it's this, you know, gosh, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago by now, I noticed that the right wing, the conservative politicians seem to have an issue with people in 3 occupational areas. One is scientists, another one is education, and the other is journalism.
Mm.
So I said, well, what is it that those three things have in common, such that a whole wing of a political wing of the United States is vehemently against them? Well, gee, it didn't take much thinking to come up with that. Those three occupations are all concerned with the truth.
The truth. That's right.
And if you just happen to be, excuse the expression, a lying ass son of a bitch, then the truth is your worst enemy.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess, you know, in a way I'm saying that, you know, we need to deal with people who whose agenda is based on on negatives, things like greed and selfishness, you know, and those are character issues. And honest to goodness, I can't tell you, you know, outside of baptizing the whole the whole Republican Party. But listen, those are the people who claim that they've been baptized and saved.
Yeah,
You know,
yep, exactly.
So I mean that's an issue right there. But I'm with Tom on this, you know, because ultimately the truth will set you free. Oh, and listen, I know you know this guy, the black astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse, right?
Yeah.
He said something. It's one of his quotes that I really love. He said that he dreams of a world where where the truth dictates what a person's politics are, instead of the other way around, where politics
dictates what their truth is.
What their truth is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, John, I'm going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to let you close out. I want to thank Millie G and thank Tom Brown and thank Sean Owens. And I have the greatest amount of respect for you all, not only as musicians, but also as people who care. See, that's the other side.
Yes.
The question I want to know is, why don't you care enough to say something? See, the four of us care enough that we put our voice to it, and hopefully we trying to get somebody else to wake the hell up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the bottom line. Because there's too many sleep people in this world. You know, they sleeping. The world is falling down around you. That this man is, the fascism and the authoritarianism is trying to take over the world. And you don't even say, well, you know, politics, I don't really deal with politics that much. It's a little too, you are crazy. You know what? You don't deal with politics. Oh my God. So, Don, thank you for having us. I'm sorry we had all the technical problems.
That's okay.
I'm going to let you wrap this up. I want to salute these other brothers right here who are all very important in my life, because we are soul brothers, real soul. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about, Billy G? Real soul brothers.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, John. Take us out of here.
On behalf of the entire team of Listen Up a Minute, you know, Derek Wright in Full Motion Video, and LJ Brown of LJ Brown Enterprises, thank you so much. And guys, we have got to do this again. We Mr. Brown, I know your schedule is demanding, but we'll work with you, work around you, so we can, we'll work around your schedule. We have got to do this again. And I want to piggyback on what you said, because what you wanted to advocate for, you made me think of my sister and my cousin, and Bill, you know them both, my sister Ayo and my cousin Ola. They were some of the first people in the area to grow dreadlocks and get into vegetarianism and health, but it was also this thing of loving self and self-respect, and what you said, learning the truth. So if we can do that, talk about the truth about this country. You know, people like to say this country was founded on this, that, and other. Well, no, it was some other stuff that it was founded on too that no one likes to talk about.
Right.
And we have to get that out. We have to recognize that our teachers are vastly underpaid.
Absolutely.
Our school systems are vastly underfunded. We have to invest in our education. But along with that, we have to get the parents involved too. Because I always say, I don't care how good the school system is, how good the teachers are. If my wife are jacked up, our kids gonna be jacked up too.
That's right.
And some of our parents need to be taught and retaught. Some of our parents need to be parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles need to be brought up to speed. So that's what I would advocate, because again, I can't teach you what I don't know. And if I'm not willing to learn, at some point you're going to suffer, or it's going to, or at a later point, it's going to be a disconnect where hopefully that son or daughter will recognize, well, you know, mom and dad are limited, but they aren't trying to learn anything. So I'm just going to have to at some point disconnect myself from them, or I'm just going to come back home to the same foolishness that you all had spent the last 7 hours trying to get me to see a different way of doing things and a different way of living. So we have to bring our parents and our guardians on board to get them up to speed as well.